Okay, so I see that IG Satan gonna act a fool this morning. I'll wait till y'all get back. You know, Alita, IG Satan be cutting up, so that's what's going on today. Assalamu alaikum, brother Jamal. Hey, Mom, Chi-Town Jetty. Happy Mother's Day, brother Tori. Right, get behind the IG Satan. I feel like Dion Cole. Young Michael, Natasha, brother Tori is back. Salute, brother Tori. Sister Cardia. Yeah, IG Satan, you know, trying to cut us off. Oh, your organization would love to come volunteer and do some work. Yes, we are looking. Send me an email, and we'll just make that announcement. If you are interested in doing something for Sajdah House, sponsoring, volunteering, whatever, send me an email at sajdahhouse@gmail.com and let us know what you do, what you want to do, how you want to volunteer, especially for that beautiful grand opening month that we are planning with the spirit and grace of Almighty God Allah in the month of October to celebrate the anniversary of the birth of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We'll be done before then, but we're going to be getting things ready and practicing and pulling it together. And inshallah, we'll have our virtual world complete at that time as well. So anyway, so if IG Satan decides to cut us off again, just come back on. This is what we do. We know this, you know. So this morning, I wanted to talk about the ego. Okay, and during the month of Ramadan, we have been giving scripture to help us with coming up with just tying our work as conscious entrepreneurs to the Holy Quran, to our teachings, because the idea is for you to create your own personal operating platform, for you to understand that it's okay for you to take knowledge and wisdom from different sources, create your own body of knowledge, and then work from there. And it's time out today for us to stop, for us to be allowing people to tell us who we should like and who we shouldn't like and all of that stuff. So that's why I say to us, be independent thinkers. Excuse me, it's still Ramadan, can't get no water. The beautiful thing is that we are on the home stretch with Ramadan. It's been a beautiful fast. I pray this has been the best fast for you ever. I did something super courageous this Ramadan, is because I continued to talk every day, all day, okay, and couldn't drink, couldn't eat anything. But then I kept up with my workouts. So, and I'm the kind of person, I like to work out in the morning. So I get up after my prayer and my reading and all that and just get a bunch of water and stuff in my system, go do my workout. And then, you know, sometimes I'm dying during the workout. But we get it together. It's just a challenge that I put on myself. And I have to wait until the evening, until the sun goes down, to have my water and stuff. And then I'm chugging, you know, all night long. I can't really eat that much, but the water and stuff I do. So anyway, as conscious entrepreneurs, we're working to introduce ourselves into a different mindset. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Lisa. Sister Lisa and Sister Alita and Kevin are on here. They are all key members of the Sajdah Enterprises team. These are my partners in righteousness. We're not all on here, but the Tory's on here too. So sometimes if y'all are looking for me, you can look for one of them. We've got other members of the team. They're not here, but just so that you know, you can identify them. And so as conscious entrepreneurs, we want to function at a different frequency. Some people ask me, how did the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad build a $100 million empire in around 10 years or so? Of course, the nation was going, obviously prior to the really push for economic development and that example. But a lot of it is from learning how to function on a different frequency. How do we defy and even lift our immune systems, if you will? How do we do that? By functioning on a different level. We have to think differently. We talked last week about casting demons out of our life. See, all of that type of deviant and defiant behavior throws off your immune system. It throws off your ability to manifest. It throws you off from the path of God and the path of righteousness. And so your body begins to break down because your brain is not giving it the right food in order for it to survive. So sometimes we nurse ourselves on negativity. And we're going to talk about that a little bit and how the ego has been manipulated so that it helps us to attach ourselves to that type of mindset. And as conscious entrepreneurs, we want to make sure that we learn to gear ourselves away from that kind of thinking. Why? Because if that kind of thinking is only supported by predatory capitalism, which is based in dominance and exploitation. So today we are going to read from Surah 41, verse 47. And this is just this verse I want you to just think about as we're talking about the ego, okay? It says, to him is referred the knowledge of the hour, and no fruit comes forth from its coverings, nor does a female bear or bring forth, but with his knowledge. And on the day when he calls out to them, where are my associates? This is Allah talking. Where are my associates? They will say, we declare to thee, not one of us can bear witness. So not one of them can bear witness that there's anything or anyone that can do for you and for us what Allah can do, if we understand how our ego works in conjunction with our relationship to that Most High God, to Almighty God, Allah. So let's talk about the ego. And we oftentimes hear in pop culture, this is the interesting thing about this world that we're living in, is because the mentality of the world makes us think that it's a science, it's right, like there's no other way to think. And then when other people begin to think and present alternative forms of thought, they're attacked. And different tools are used, whether it's different forms of marginalization and discrimination. And if you read the book or you listen to the show, you can listen to past episodes of the show where I talk about marginalization and the power of marginalization. And a lot of us really get frustrated because we think that the way that we're taught business in business school and in the corporate world, and just the way we think of business, we think that the way to do business that is demonstrated in front of us is a science. And so we get frustrated when we start to try to apply that science and that methodology, and it's not working, and we don't make the money that we believe that we should. Or we're sitting there going, I don't know why I can't generate the income that I deserve. Some of it is mindset. And some of it is because it's just time for us to move past that existing predatory and dominant mindset, because it's a system that is designed to dominate someone. You know, you hear people say, well, if the main world doesn't like us, if the primary world, if the white man's world, or however you want to define it, if they don't like us, why don't they just let us go? Why don't they just leave us alone? You don't have to be bothered with us to put your foot on our neck and do all this stuff. Just let us go. Well, that's not that easy in the world that they live in, because they live in a world that is based on dominance and predatory behavior. That's the capitalist the form of capitalism that is practiced. So with that form of capitalism, you need somebody to dominate. You need to be able to practice the act of being a predator. That's what all the media manipulation is all about. So this is why we have to relearn these things. This is why we have to get a new mind. This is why we have to function on a different frequency and think differently. And so when we think about our ego, and we think about in pop culture, when we hear about ego, we call somebody egotistical when it's all about me, myself, and I. We say, oh, they're very egotistical. Or we say a person only thinks about themselves. You hear the late, great Dr. Wayne Dyer say, ego is edging God out. All of those are interesting, but in my study of the ego, I want to just talk a little bit about what I've kind of, I believe, discovered some of the purpose of the ego is. You hear me pose the question, what did you show up on the planet to do? And I ask everyone here that's listening that question directly right now. What did you show up on the planet to do? Why are you here? Because I believe that we all have a purpose for being here. We are born into this world. Your creator had something to express, some form of communication, something that he wanted to demonstrate to the world, or a purpose that he wanted to fulfill. And I refer to God as a he. Some people don't. Some people say it, she. I say he. So don't get caught up by that if you are somebody who doesn't refer to it that way. Listen for the truth in what I'm saying. You can sift out what you don't like. So don't go let your mind go there. But you had a purpose when you were brought into this world. God brought you here, had a purpose, said, I want to say something. I want to express something. And I'm going to express what I want to say or what I want to communicate in a form that looks like you. It looks like me. The parents can call it whatever they want. They can call it, Sally, Sue, Jimmy, Bob. But I have something that I want to say, and I'm going to say it through this person. So there's a purpose inside of you. There's a prayer inside of you that you are answering. There's a cry inside of you that you are responding to that comes from the trillions of years that you've been in evolution here in this space and time. And so when God says you're here, now he has to give you something in your mind to make you fulfill his desires. And so as a reminder that you and he are one, he gives you tools to be able to pull on him and rely on him. So assalamu alaikum, Sister Sajdah. She's another member of Team Sajdah, one of my support system sisters and great friends. Everybody's on here today. So when Allah says, I was listening to the minister say, when a baby cries, the baby learns when the baby wants something to just cry, and Allah, in the form of the mother or whoever's answering those cries, brings the baby whatever it is that the baby wants. And so in a sense, that identification with I is where it starts, but that identification with I is also ego. Okay? So that ego that we start to develop when we start to learn different ways that we should ask for and demand, whether it's a cry or a tantrum or whatever, is God's way of connecting us to him and connecting us to our purpose. So this is the way that we are able to communicate with and communicate our purpose for being on earth, is using our ego. Because if God doesn't make you say I, right? And there's other reasons, we could go into the jinn and all that, but I'm just talking about this one little thing right here. where God makes us say I so that we can distinguish ourselves from others and survive and also express and fulfill the desires that he put inside of us. And so the challenge becomes that now we come into this world, and this world redefines and scrambles things. And so we think that I is bigger than God. And so now we start to associate other things, as we talked about in our verse this morning from the Holy Quran. We start to associate other things with Allah, and we start to then subconsciously worship other things other than Allah. And we don't go back to the source and pull on that source. So here's our ego. And so now our ego gets stunted because the world takes over and starts to tell us how to think, how to be. And that thinking and that being that this world that we live in presents to us is defiance. It's disobedient from the will of God. So something as simple as owning a business becomes difficult for us. Why? Because we are living in a defiant state of mind. And some of us are so defiant in our mindset that we don't realize that we've trained our spirit to be opposite from the desires that Allah or God has for us. So we can't get that business going. We can't get this or that up off the ground because we are in a constant and perpetual and chronic state of defiance. Defiance means a constant state of disobedience. And then we use deceptive intelligence to say that we're not that way, but starting with our thoughts are so contrary to what it is that Allah wants and the will of Allah. And you can see this in the study guides, that something as simple as owning a business and getting a business off the ground becomes very, very difficult because now you're so busy using your ego trying to redefine who you are. And who are you? You're that defiant person that the world has taught you to be. So in that state of defiance, all your choices, all your decisions, the way you talk, the way you look, the way you dress, even if you change the way you dress, even if you change the way you talk, your thoughts, your choices, your decisions, what are you thinking about all day? What are you saying all day? How are you treating people? How do you see yourself? Well, guess what? Now, here comes the ego. Because if you're feeding and nursing off of this defiant mindset and this defiant behavior, the ego says, oh, that's who I am. And so even if you win the lottery and you win $10 million, you end up eventually going right back to that defiant self that you've defined in your mind. So in order to become conscious entrepreneurs and step into this inheritance and step into this rightful place, to be that bottom rail that now becomes the top, and to be the top of the rail means you have to have other people around you. There are quote unquote people under you. And so you have to change your mindset, or we have to change our mindset so that we understand how to function at that top rail. In leadership positions, we can't just go, I'm going to just be as defiant as the predatory capitalist that we're running from. No, we don't want to do that. We want to say we want a new mind. We want to function on another frequency so that some of the things that the predatory capitalist world starts to hurl at us is not as impactful because we're on another frequency. Okay, so here we are, we got our ego, and we define who we are. And we define ourselves based on a mindset of defiance, disobedience, in other words. And so now we're going, okay, this is who I am, subconsciously, because that's how the ego works. A lot of times it's subconscious. When you hear a person talking, you can hear the ego, but it's coming from the subconscious mind. And then the subconscious mind controlling the body, which is why we can't lose weight, which is why we can't make money, which is why we're so susceptible to so many diseases, because all of the cells in our body are not vibrating in alignment with Almighty God Allah. They're vibrating in alignment with defiance, the defiant one, the defiant mindset. That's a different rhythm. That's a different timing. That's a different color. That's a different space. It's your cells and everything's going to rotate differently because you're out of sync. So now here we are, we're feeding on this negativity all day. Every time we get a chance, we clicking on that news. We're just sucking and nursing on that defiance. We're sucking and nursing on somebody telling us we can't do this or we shouldn't be doing that. And so the reason then we got to have these shows now called The Authentic Self. Now we got to figure out and discover and monetize our authentic self, when Almighty God Allah created us for a specific reason and put us on this plane for a specific reason, but we can't get there because we don't even know who we are anymore, because we've completely redefined ourselves based on what the world has told us that we are. Okay? And then it trains us, right? So if you keep seeing this stuff over and over and over and over, the repetition just trains us. Starts with taking away our name. Starts with taking away our way of life. Starts with taking away our language. It starts with taking away our relationships. It starts with giving us a new way of worshiping. It starts with taking away everything that we know that has been with us for trillions and trillions of years and saying, nope, here you go, use this. So now your mind is working overtime to fight against you and tell you, nope, you ain't that person that owns a business that makes millions of dollars. You're this broke person over here that I saw on television that needs help. That's who you are. So you start to struggle, and there's this kind of tussle back and forth. And you see it in a lot of times when you're hearing people talk. Sometimes the ego starts to become very competitive. The interesting thing about the ego is that the ego wants to be special no matter what. The ego doesn't care if it's especially good or especially bad. The ego just wants attention. And that's when it gets dangerous. That's when you move into the Wayne Dyer piece where we talk about it edges God out. Which is interesting, because I don't believe that the ego was initially designed to edge God out. I believe the ego was initially designed to connect us to God and to our purpose here on this earth. But now it's been flipped by this defiant mindset, by a world that says now, use that ego, use that tool that was given to you to connect you to that greater power and connect you to your purpose. Use it now to edge that purpose out. So person, you talking to somebody and the person says, oh, I got a stomach ache. And then you say, oh yeah, my stomach was hurting too. Now you get into this back and forth. Girl, one time my stomach was hurting so bad you would not believe it. Or, oh, this happened. Every time we see tragedy, we start to relate it to ourselves. If somebody's sick, we go, oh, I remember when I was sick. What is that? That's the ego identifying with that defiant or that disobedient mindset. Somebody has a car accident. Guess what we say? Girl, when I had my car accident, now we start owning it. Not when we can't even remember. See, we have this amnesia because of all the trauma that we've been through, which has actually been a blessing, because this amnesia where we don't remember who we were or who we come from, this amnesia because of all this pain that we've been going through and all this trauma, it's like our mind just shut down. You know how a person goes through so much pain, they just pass out? Or they go into a coma, or they lose their mind. Well, we've lost our minds. And so we don't even know who we are. But instead of saying, oh, I see this person on television, they have $100 million. Instead of us saying, I remember when I was here and I was one of the chief traders in the Americas. And I remember when I had millions of dollars in gold. I remember when I was a high priestess. Instead of us doing that, we identify with that other thing that's defiant. Somebody's having surgery. Now we got to talk about our surgery. Somebody had a nervous breakdown. Now we got to talk about how we almost had a nervous breakdown. So we're constantly defining, and the ego makes us compete, because in that moment, the ego got jealous, because when that person got sick, that person got attention. And so now, yeah, you're right. We want to start outdoing it. We don't care if it's positive or negative. Now we go, oh, you don't get to get all the attention. I've been sick too. So what do we do about that? What do we do about that? So if I talked about, I believe that one of the purposes of the ego is to tie us to God and to tie us to his desire for creating us. We ask the question, what did you show up on the planet to do? What is that desire? What is that authentic person? Who are you? How do we do that? First, it starts with something very simple that I say all the time, and that's gratitude. Because the ego, that defiant ego, does not like for you to be thanking God for anything. Now, ego don't like that, because the ego has presented to you that this defiant mindset is God. This idea of getting attention all the time, whether it's good or bad, is God. You have people who have trained themselves to get sick so that they can get attention. You have people who have trained themselves into emotional disorders because it gives them attention. And so this is the ego out of control. This is when you start to see things like they call narcissism, and some people literally, their personalities will split so that the other parts of them can support the defiance. But if you remember, go back to our chapter and our verse from the Holy Quran, where at the end they say none of us can bear witness to an associate of Allah. What does that mean? That means that the remembrance of Allah, and you can do that simply through gratitude. Keep a notebook by your bed. Write down 10 things that you're grateful for through the course of the day. When you wake up, if you have time, do it again. Throughout the day, you hear me talk about looking for Allah and everything, and be grateful. In your business, be grateful for the business that you have. Don't start creating customers that you don't have and creating monsters out of the customers that you don't have, and then adjusting your behavior to cater to customers that you ain't even got. I see that all the time with entrepreneurs. They say, I don't want to say this and I don't want to do that because I don't want to run away the customers that I have. What? You don't want to run away the customers that you have? Well, you ain't got no customers. Or you say, well, I don't want to scare the customers that live on such and such block. You don't even have those customers yet. So yes, you have to create your target market. And yes, as conscious entrepreneurs, we have to analyze and do risk analysis on our businesses. We have to define and determine what could be a threat to the ongoing concern of our business. That's very, very important. But we don't let our ego make that our master. What is our master? That we are going to function on a different frequency level. We're going to think differently. We're going to think in a way that supports what it is that we're working to do. We're going to think on a conscious level. How do we do that? We live in a space of gratitude. We live in a space where we have stakeholders that are beyond our bottom line. Yes, money is important. We make no apologies as conscious entrepreneurs for making money and for making a lot of it, for attracting money and attracting a lot of it, because we believe that the more money we make, the more people we can help and the more consciousness we can spread. So we believe in coming together and creating an ecosystem and enjoying the outpouring of abundance from our universe. We believe in that. But at the same time, that bottom line is not our God. That bottom line is not our only stakeholder. We have other things in our platform and in our purpose that may be important to us, whether it's generational wealth, whether it's the environment. It could be your church. It could be whatever you are into or interested. You could say one of my stakeholders is prison reform. And so I want a certain amount of my programming or my dollars to support prison reform. Or I could say I want to support criminal justice. Or I could say I want to support the beluga whales who've been eating the plastic bags that we throw away. I mean, it could be anything. But we have other stakeholders and other purposes for being in business. And also, we make sure that our behavior is in alignment, not with the predatory capitalist world. Because see, what happens is sometimes we start going good. We get really conscious and we get really excited about being conscious entrepreneurs. And then we hit a bump. We hit a snag. And we don't have the courage, or our ego tells us, you better go do this and that. And then once you go do this and that, that's defiant, then you can come back and be conscious entrepreneurs. That's not how it works. I had somebody say to me, you know, Wendy, you could be a billionaire if you just did thus and such or such and such. And I say, you know what? It's taken me a while to get where I am, and I love the journey. Because I didn't have to delve into that predatory type of mindset in order to get there. And so I just kept focusing on self-improvement. And so that's why with things like the Black Muslim Business Directory, we want to bring businesses together and show us how to conduct ourselves. Because it's not easy oftentimes doing business with us. Because a lot of us don't know. We don't really understand that we're really predators. We think we're doing good. We think we're righteous. We think we're conscious. But really, at the end of the day, we're really just predators who are looking for somebody to prey on, looking for somebody to dominate. That's a lot of times where we are. And so that's the interesting thing about how we fix and realign our ego. Is we have to redefine who we are, right? So self-knowledge. We have to redefine and fall back in love with ourselves and our connection to God. So the self-love, right? Self-discipline. But it starts with being grateful. And it starts with gratitude. And it starts with consciously not over-identifying yourself with negative things. Every time somebody says something negative, you don't have to go into what it means to you. You can just sit there and listen and let it pass. I do that a lot. It's like I'm sitting there and there's a negative thing that comes in and I don't say nothing. I just let it float on past. Why? Because that ain't got nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. I don't even pray on it. I just go and I say, I seek refuge in general. But that one thing, to give it some attention, that one negative thing, because what you focus on manifests, right? So I'm not focusing on that. I'm not giving you that, oh, defiant one. You don't get to get me to focus on what's wrong and what's negative. I'm focused on what I want and what I believe is right and cleaning up that vibration as much as possible. You know, some people, energy is so negative and so defiant. They trick you because they present a certain way. They present like they're supportive and they're beautiful and that they love you and that they are on a righteous path. But their thoughts are so dark and so negative that if you let them into your world, they will impact your ability. They will impact the intensity of your relationship with Allah. They will impact the money you make. They will impact your other relationships. Then all of a sudden, when they leave or when they're not around, you get this brightness. It's like the world opens up like, ah. And it's no offense against them. They're just in a dark place. They're just in a place where they're trying to figure out who they are and what they want. And a lot of times we're not courageous enough to take a stand. And so we just present this dark energy. And so you have to be mindful of that. So that's why we want to function on another level. We want to be able to tune in. We want to think differently. We want to have a different mindset. We want to nurse on truth, right? That's why I encourage us to create our own personal operating platform. Don't let nobody tell you who you should and should not listen to. Don't let anybody tell you that just because they tell you not to like a person, that you shouldn't like them and therefore you shouldn't listen to them. Be able to extract the truth from everywhere, anywhere you hear it. Extract from the truth and retrain your mind and your body so that it leans on and leans into divinity and God and love, and leans away from, or is not even, doesn't even worship defiance. See, because what happens is a lot of us, I don't care how old we are, I don't care how young we are, sometimes a person who has a defiant nature might be in authority over us, maybe at work, maybe in our relationship, maybe in government. And so because that person is in authority over us, because they have that sense of authority, we go into worship mode. And so even though we're in our mind going, they so wrong, they wrong as, I don't know what, two left shoes. But on the other side, we literally are worshiping them. How do we worship them? Because we then start to make choices and create behavioral patterns that are lined up with what that person wants. And so now we start making choices. We start making decisions. And that's when you get into, when I started taking training as an emotional intelligence coach, it taught us that through our emotions, we then make choices and decisions. And so it becomes so second nature and it's so subconscious that we don't even feel it. We don't even hear it. We don't even know what it is. And so, but we know that the results that we're looking for in life, we're not getting. And so, therefore, then Allah says, well, then you don't recognize me. You don't see me. So I got to make you struggle. It's not a punishment. See, the struggle is not always a punishment. The pain is not always a punishment. It's to make you into what you showed up on the planet to do, to make you into what Allah desires for you. So sometimes he has to put us through the fire. He has to chisel us down and get us in shape. It's just like losing weight, right? We get so far out of character and out of compliance, and we become so defiant that you start to see the manifestations of it on our body. And so you see us getting thicker, and you see the belly getting bigger, and you see all of that. So what do we have to do? We got to go work. We got to go suffer. We got to push back from the table. We got to go work out. We got to run. We got to stretch. And we want to work as hard and quickly and respond to that as much as we can before our internal system begins to alter itself. See, because when you operate constantly in an egoic state, the I, the me, the it's all about me state of mind, that puts you constantly in what we call fight or flight. And your body is not meant to live on a consistent basis in a state of fight or flight. And so then the world supports that, because the world says, I'm going to show you images on television all the time of people who look like you being discriminated against, being killed, being beaten. The world says, I'm going to support that. And I'm going to discriminate against you. I'm going to abuse you. I'm going to kidnap you. I'm going to murder you. And I'm going to show it to you on television. I'm going to make sure that when you walk down the street, you're afraid that I'm going to jump out and kill you, or that I'm going to pull you over and shoot you. You're afraid of that. So you're going to be in a constant state of fight or flight. And when you're in that constant state of fight or flight, I can control you. Because if somebody wants your mind, all they got to do is make you worry. So now you're in this constant state of fight or flight. What do you think is happening to your body? Okay, so physiologically, when your mind says we need to fight or flight, your muscles begin to constrict and pulsate because the blood in your body rushes to your muscles because it's preparing you to jump, to run, to push, to pull. And what happens to your organs? Your organs suffer because in that moment of fight or flight, the mind is going, look, Mr. Kidney, look, Mr. Lungs, you got to give us a minute because we got to save the entire organism. But you can't live like that on a long-term basis. What it's designed to do is that once you're out of danger, once you run away from the lion or the dragon or whatever you're running from, your body should reset and go back to normal. And now the regular blood flow that you enjoy to your other organs and the nourishment that the blood gives the other organs should then go back to its normal function. And now those organs can live the way they were designed to live. Now your muscles can calm down, settle down, relax. But sometimes some of us can't relax. We have to take muscle relaxers. Some of us live in that constant state of fight or flight because this is the world that we live in. And so our organs and everything are never getting enough blood flow. Our pressure that's running through our veins and our arteries is so high that now we got high blood pressure. Now our body can't correct itself if we don't eat right because the organs don't have enough blood to function properly. Now we get diabetes because our hormones are out of control. Our kidneys fail because it's not getting enough nourishment because we're constantly in fight or flight. Our blood pressure is just pumping through our veins and arteries and just beating up everything. So we got all this stuff happening. So what do? What's the solution? We have to find a way to access mindsets and a body of knowledge that allows us to relax, allows our body and our immune system to settle down. And we have to stop allowing this world to let our ego get so out of control that the ego, the minute it feels threatened, the ego goes, uh-oh, we're going into fight or flight. Something as simple as somebody getting more attention than us. Something as simple as somebody having more than us or having what we want. We immediately, boom, ego says, go into fight or flight because they got more than you. Go into fight or flight because they look better than you. Go into fight or flight because they got a better looking husband than you. Go into fight or flight because they got a wife and you don't. And so we're constantly living in that state. So we got to get that ego under control. And how do we do that? Bring ourselves back to our word. Find a word that you can rely on, that you can pull on. Get you some supreme wisdom. Study the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Study the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Even study other bodies of knowledge that are going to bring you truths that you can nurse. If you say, I don't read that well, get the tapes. Okay? If you don't read that well, download the MP3. Watch the videos. Instead of going on YouTube and looking for something that supports the negative or defiant part of your ego, go and listen to Reverend T.D. Jakes say something that makes sense. Go listen to a lecture that makes sense to you. Learn to build your operating platform so you pull truth from wherever. So my basis and my foundation of my spirituality is Islam, under the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And then from that, I look for truths that match up with that no matter what. I don't care if I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita. I don't care if I'm listening to a shaman I'm looking for those synergies, and I'm finding different ways to express things. I'm looking for the beauty. I'm looking for Allah in everything. Why? So that I can find a way to be grateful. And I spend time in gratitude. So that my ego is not defined by a world that is designing a defiant spiritual mindset that then my body responds to, and now I'm out of whack. You notice how when you start to pray, I feel like I'm my most beautiful after I pray. That's why I like doing podcasts and stuff in the morning. Because the Spirit of God, the spirit of revelation that comes through your skin, your pores, your body, your mouth, your eyes, after that prayer, after you've called on Allah, you are most beautiful. Why? Because you become radiant. It purifies you. You get those moments where your body realigns after you call on the one, right, who controls it all, after you defy and nurse on that truth. So if we begin to find ways to connect the dots and to do that throughout the course of our day, then our beauty, the purification of our skin, our lungs, our heart, our kidneys, our liver will begin to see that. We'll see some improvement. We'll see ourselves losing weight, believe it or not. But if we're constantly talking about fire and brimstone, we on the news all day, we all negative, we're constantly trying to defend ourselves against people who don't even matter, who don't even match up to the God that we serve. What are we doing to our bodies? So we got to focus on functioning and living on a higher level. Okay. So I hope that helps us as conscious entrepreneurs with our ego, so we can get that together in our lives and in our hearts and in our minds. Couple quick announcement before I go with this song that I think is so perfect for the ego. We have an event coming up on the 14th. If you're not in Chicago, you can
connected to.
Sorry, I had to turn the speaker on. If you're in Chicago on the 14th, you can come and check us out at Sean Michelle's Homemade Ice Cream, 46 East 47, is it West or East? 46 West 47th Street. You know that Sajdah ice cream? That Sajdah gourmet bean pie infused ice cream? Well, it's here. You can order it. You can have some. You can go to Sean Michelle's and get it. But we're going to stream it live, God willing. If IG Satan works with us. If not, we'll do it on YouTube. If YouTube Satan works with us. Otherwise, we'll tape it. Thanks, Brother Torius East, 46 East 47th Street. The Sajdah ice cream. Brother Yaya and Sister Nataki, I love them. And Brother Yaya said to me, he said, I made the bean pie infused ice cream for you and called it Sajdah because you always infuse the teachings and what it is that you do. So I pray that I can be an ambassador for this truth in the world of business and help us as conscious entrepreneurs. That's what the goal is. Thank you, Brother Tori, for putting that in the chat. 46 East 47th Street, Chicago, Illinois. Or you're going to come on here and you can check it out Friday, May 14th. Friday, May 14th, 5 p.m. See, this is why I have to have my peoples, my partners with me. Yeah. So anyway, that's the announcement. But we're going to get the flyer out. You'll hear more. I got a beautiful new assistant. Let me tell you something. She's 17 years old. She has her own company. It's called Q Assist. Her name is Sister Sajdah Muhammad. She is amazing. She got my calendar so full the next 2 weeks. I don't know when y'all gonna see me. She's not playing. She's really helping me to build this enterprise in just 3 days that she's been working with me. When you go to the feed, the IG feed, you'll see her name is Sister Sajdah, 17 years old, got her own business. Let me tell you, this sister's so together. After we met and we talked, she hit me with, sis, what's your email so that I can send you your contract? I said, okay, sister. And I said, well, do I need to talk to your parents? She said, you can talk to my parents if you feel that you need to, but I'm a business. I'm my own business. I'm a whole business. And so this is what I do. I say, yes, ma'am. Then she hit me with the other services that she offers. And I said, you know what? We're going to do that. She reminds me of myself when I first started working for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan way back in the day. And I was so studious and so excited about it. Sister Aletha knows, because we were both there, just really ready to grind, ready to do whatever we had to do, but just enthusiastic. And so I am just praying that Allah allows me to continue to support her. And what's interesting is that I had a whole business model in my mind for the type of business that she has, and I couldn't get anybody to do it. And I told her, I said, you know what? That's because it was yours. So we're going to grow her business, and I can't wait till 5 years from now, and she's that multi-millionaire business. She'll only be 21 at that time. That's the goal, right? That's the goal, is to just be making millionaires and billionaires who are conscious and who align themselves and their egos with the supreme wisdom and the teaching. So make sure you get your Elijah coin. If you have not gotten it, go to sajdahhouse.com. We only got a couple days before the Ramadan discount ends. You get $50 off if you put the discount code Ramadan, Ramadan, in the discount code section during checkout. Sajdahhouse.com. Get the coins. This is a collector's piece. It's made from the recycled copper from the messenger's home. We're so excited about this project. We're on the home stretch. We need to sell the coins. I'm going to be doing as much press as I can in the next couple of weeks so we can get these coins sold, sell out of this first batch, right? And then we get to go with the ones with the diamonds and everything on it. But let's get the collector's piece. This is the heirloom that we can pass down to our children. It's graded. We're going to be able to make a lot of money off of these in the future. So you want this particular coin. Each coin has its own barcode. So if you already got one, go out there and get another one. We'll give you $50 off with that discount code, and that will help us to continue to support the renovation and the restoration of the former home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It is the most important piece of property in modern day African American history. And we got some amazing things that are starting to happen. So for our song to take us out, I picked this old school. It's a fun song, but it's Me, Myself, and I. And if you don't know this song, you in trouble. You didn't know the first one, I'm going to let you slide. But this one you got to know. All right.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, tell me, mirror, what is wrong? Can it be my daylight clothes, or is it just my daylight soul? What I do ain't make believe.
There you go, Brother Lamont, daylight soul. Where your skates at, Why Divine? Where your skates at? You should be moving around the ring like that now.
It's just me, myself, and I. Just me, myself, and I.
That's right, Dayla. Give a clap for Dayla Soul. What dance was out there, Sister Lisa? That's the quiz. Sister Lisa, Sister Aletha, any of y'all, what dance was we doing when this came out? Go ahead. I ain't gonna say what I think. What dance were you doing during that time? Let me put that. Dancing on the beach again in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. All right. We're going to get rid of this ego. We're going to use this ego to put us in touch and in alignment with Allah. That's what we're going to do. We're going to be conscious entrepreneurs who introduce much needed goods and services into our businesses. Make sure you're joining and supporting the Black Muslim Business Directory, because from there, we're going to be doing all kind of stuff. We got our featured business of the week. We're going to be doing IG Live with the featured businesses where you get to talk about your business. We're going to be doing Black Muslim Business Meetups where we start to pair you together. Oh yeah, it's on. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Tory. Look at the hearts from Brother Tory. We had to pull teeth to get Brother Tory to come on here. He thought it was just a sister's thing. Brother Lamont, tell him, Brother Charles, this ain't just for the sisters. Somebody said the snake. What is the snake? I think the snake is this. I think that's the snake.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory for plus 1 and 2.
Y'all know as Muslims we have fun. I know
they diss my
passionate. We're
person
not
by stating
happy.
I'm darkly
Look,
packed.
I'm always
I know
laughing.
this, so I
You can ask anybody that's around me. I will keep you on the phone laughing for hours because I love that energy and music and dance. And it's time. Up, you mighty nation. You can accomplish what you will. That's right. I gotta get more naked and snack. What you say, Brother Tori? Then I can go backwards. That's what you want, Brother Tori? Sister Aletha, stop laughing. You over here crying. Me, myself, and I. We're going to redefine that ego and what that means, right? Okay. He said I got it now. All right. So thank you, family. Thank you for joining. Stay close. Check us out on the 14th. But we got some other stuff happening next week. So we'll see y'all then. And don't forget, even if you already got your coin, please go out and get another one and support us. We love you. Thank you all so much. And assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings. Hang in there these last few days of Ramadan. I know it's easy to give up. Don't give up. Keep going. And remember, 10 things that you're grateful for before you go to bed every day. That'll help us to start realigning that ego. Peace and blessings. I'm out, you guys.